But I can promise you this, if you just take the time to understand macros, it will give you ultimate freedom and understanding of food. But most people, when they start dieting, they'll cut out carbs, they'll cut out fats. Can't have whipped cream on a diet? Wrong! What's up guys, and welcome to a requested video by you, and this is going to be a beginner guide to macros. So you can see laid out in front of me here, I've got a couple of little tools of the trade to help you understand what we're going to be talking about. But let's start with number one. What the frick are macros? Macros stands for not a type of diet. No. Macros stands for macronutrients, and they are protein, carbohydrates, fats, and alcohol. We'll come back to that one later. We're going to concentrate on these three for now. I'm going to explain them as best I can and as simple as I can, just to give you guys a raw grasp of where to get started with macros. What's the importance of macros? Well, when we're talking about physique, when we're talking about our muscle mass to fat ratios, our lean mass, macronutrients, your proteins, carbs, and fats, are hugely responsible for the way you look on the exterior. There are other things called micronutrients, and these are things like vitamins and nutrients. And they are important in the health of the body overall in general, but they have a minimal effect when we're talking and looking at the big picture on the way your body reacts in terms of burning fat and holding muscle. So to change that, what you need to do is take control of your macronutrients. And that means taking control of what goes in here so that you get to see what you want here in the mirror over there. In terms of macronutrients, you're going to want a breakdown in your diet of around about 40% protein, and then you can either go 30% carbohydrate, 30% fats, or you can go 40% protein, 40% carbohydrates, and 20% fat. Now, that percentage breakdown is from your overall calorie requirement, and you need to find this out by taking your general weight now. There's a load of online things that you can plug this into just to get a nice general starting point to find out your overall calorie requirements from your activity levels, your job, your age, and your current weight. But a quick Google should get you there. Once you have your overall calorie intake, you can then break that down into these levels. What you need to know to do this, really easy. 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So immediately there we can see the balance change between carbs and fats, which are predominantly going to be your energy sources as well. Proteins are great, but can't as a rule be stored. Carbohydrates and fats can be stored by the body, so these are the two we're going to manipulate a little bit more than the protein. Number one macronutrient that most people know about, protein. And most people who hear protein automatically think muscle. That's kind of true, because protein breaks down into your amino acids, which are the building blocks for your muscle building potential, plus they function in a whole lot of bodily scenarios such as immune system and other important things like that. Protein does help you build muscle, but too much of it doesn't help you build more muscle. What it does is put your kidneys under stress and also your wallet under stress, because protein can be found in these major sources here. We're talking chicken breast, beef, meats, milks, dairy. There's a lot of food to think about here, but there are all sources you can find on the back of any packet. So when you're looking at food from now on, you need to have a look at what is in it. This is going to be your saving grace to understanding food after we've got through the rest of this video. So when you're looking at meat such as chicken breast, which is the most common one we probably all eat, unless you're vegan, in which case that's a whole other story. Protein levels on this, we're going to see per 100 grams, and that's what you need to look at on most food. It's going to be a protein level of 22 grams. Now you're saying, hang on a minute, I've seen protein at 31 grams for chicken breast. And you'd be correct, because this is an uncooked weight. The 31 grams or 30 grams of protein per 100 is cooked weight of chicken. Now that doesn't mean that we get more protein as we cook chicken. What it means is water leaves the chicken breast, and then the overall weight, percentage-wise of protein in that weight that's left minus the water, is 33 grams per 100. But add that water back in, increase that weight overall, it brings it down to 22. Does that make sense? It's just a water loss thing. So, as a rule, all chicken breasts will have around 30 grams of protein in it. Same goes for kind of red meats, will be a little bit lower. They tend to be around about somewhere between 22 to 24 grams of protein per 100, and fish around about 20 grams of protein per 100. So you can find all this out on the back of packets. Now, as a good guide, if you're eating around about 150 grams of protein per day, you're doing okay. But if you want to turn it up a little bit and you're joining in on like a muscle building training regime, or you want to start getting into the fitness side of things, 180 grams to 200 grams of protein is absolutely fine for your standard male. Ladies, I would stick somewhere between 130 to 150 grams of protein a day. Carbs, the evil thing that's making the world fat. Wrong. Carbs are not your enemy. Uncontrolled levels of carbohydrates can be your enemy. It's basically, if you're putting on weight or struggling to lose weight, it's because you are taking in more than you are putting out, and it's that simple. One of the first sources that people tend to cut back on is carbohydrates, but they cut back without even knowing what they're eating in the first place. So before you start doing anything, you need to make sure that you are going to be logging your food and checking just what you're taking in a certain day. Now, it's not me being mean that's saying you have to start logging and tracking your food in some manner. That is just nature. It's the way biology works, and if you want to be successful, you gotta bloody well do it. There has to be some effort put in for you to see results, and one of those efforts is going to be monitoring your food. Now, you can do this in two ways. You can use a fitness app called MyFitnessPal. This one will help you to log your food. It has barcode scanning on it. It's super easy. It remembers everything that you eat as well, so you can relog things really easily. You're also going to need a little helping hand from a set of scales. Sounds horrible. It's not. All you're going to do is weigh overall food for the day. So if you are taking food with you to work, what you can do is weigh the whole lot that you're going to take that day and then just log it. As long as you eat what you've logged in the morning by the end of the day, that's absolutely fine. But it's going to give you at least an idea of where you're at. To give you a little quick demonstration, I'm going to bring you in a little closer. Here we have some sweet potato. Per 100 grams, this is giving us, as sold value, per 100 grams, carbohydrate level is 21.3. Now, as to me, sweet potato is a good, sweet potato is a good source of micronutrients as well, because it's colourful. Anything colourful on your plate is going to be full of more nutrients than something that's beige or white. This, though, for me is a carbohydrate source. We know that because the fat level on here per 100 grams is 0.3. It's not, so basically per 100, if you think of it as a percentage, as 100%, that is 0.3% fat from that. What it is 21.3% carbohydrate, and there's a little bit of protein there, but it's all negligible. We're talking like 1%. So where's that other 80%? Well, the 70 odd percent that's left over. That's all made up with water content, fiber content. Don't worry too much about that. What we're concerned with is this usable amount of carbohydrate in that per 100 gram serving. But the thing to notice here is there's only 21 grams per 100. So obviously we can take this potato here, we can weigh this on our scale, bam. It's going to come in at 206 grams. Now, just to make your life easier, let's call it 200 grams. We know 100 grams has 21.3 grams of carbohydrate in it. Thus, a 200 gram serving of this potato here has 42 grams of carbohydrate in it. Now, that, from this lovely pre-weigh thing we have here, is the same as 43 grams of sugar, which looks like this. And this is a raw cane sugar. So, to your body, carbohydrate level wise, this and this are absolutely identical. This is going to make you feel real hyper real fast and then crash you out and leave you hungry. This is going to be way more satiating and way more hunger filling. Is that a way of saying it? Hunger filling? It is now. This is going to leave you feeling less hungry. This is going to make you feel hyper and real hungry later on. So this is what we're talking about. This and this to your body are the same. People would have you believe that sugar is evil, it's all bad, ignore it, cut it out your system. The problem is we don't have control over the sugars in our diet, and that's the issue. Not the fact that sugar exists in the world. It's not completely evil, and you can have it in moderate amounts as long as you're monitoring your food. Now, if you're not monitoring your food, that's when you have to start cutting out sugars and things like that, because they're such high impact. Because you can get, as you can see from this, it's a way smaller volume that has the same impact. So it's way easier to go overboard on this simple sugar here, because basically 43 grams of that is 43 grams of carbs, whereas 200 grams of this potato is only 43 grams of carbs. Does that make sense? Hopefully that visual gives you a little idea. So what you want to do is monitor your food and volumize as necessary. So if you're feeling hungry, you want to look for foods that have a low impact. So that means per 100 grams, you get a low number per serving, which means you can have more to hit your targets. Fats! Now everybody's scared of fats because fat is the same word as what you associate with being out of shape. But fats are good. They help support hormone levels, and also they help keep you satiated. They help stop you feeling hungry because per gram of fat you get 9 calories. So they are more of a high energy source than a carbohydrate gram for gram. But it doesn't mean that you don't need to monitor them. Obviously, because 1 gram has 9 calories instead of 4, they are a higher impact. So again, it's easy to spill over on them. But most people, when they start dieting, they'll cut out carbs or cut out fats or one of the two, and they start cutting food out of their diet. They're like, I can't eat cheese when I'm on a diet, I can't have cream when I'm on a diet, I can't have butter when I'm on a diet, and it's just not true. If we go back to that per 100 serving, we can see on a cheese, per 100 grams, the fat level is 35 grams. Now that sounds like quite high, it's 35% pure fat, but chances are when you're having cheese, you can slice up only 10 to 15, 20 grams, and it's going to be absolutely fine, because in 20 grams of that, all you're going to have is 35 divided by 100, that gives you your 1 gram value, then you times it by how much you want to have. So I want to have 20 grams, so I times 0.35 by 20, and that will give me my value of fat for that serving of cheese, 7. Now, as a standard, most men and women-wise should have around about 35, 40, 45, depending on how tall they are and their body weight. Men tend to have more around about kind of that 50 to 65 range if they're on the lower fat diets or lower fat kind of intake. Whereas you can have a higher fat approach to your dieting, which is where you'd have that 40, 30, 30 split, in which case you would have a higher fat allowance. So again, it's all about the allowances that you're going to have and how you want to direct them. I myself have gone even higher on the fat side and brought my carbs down to only a 20% input, which means I get a much higher fat allowance, and that, for me personally, going out and eating makes life easier because it's easier to go out and find higher fat foods and take out carbs rather than to go out and try and take fats out of meals, especially if we're eating out or going to venues. So just be aware, you want cheese but maybe you're on a lower fat side and you prefer the high carb. That's great. Woo! Cheetah-like skills. There are versions of cheese that you can still have, like these Eat Lean ones. This per 100 grams is only 14.3 grams of fat compared to the 35 of a normal cheddar. This has also got a boosted protein level of being 33 grams of protein per 100 compared to a normal cheese, which is only 25, which is still pretty darn good. But that's what I'm saying. If you have a certain want in your diet, there are usually a means to being able to have them. Also, cutting something out completely that you might like on things like butter. Butter may be high in fat, it's 80 grams of fat per 100, but it's all again about the volume you use. If you're spreading this on toast, chances are you're only going to use around about 5 grams, which is only going to be 4 grams of fat in that serving. So it's not horrendous. It can easily fit in your allowance if you have a 60 gram allowance a day or a 45 to 50 gram allowance a day. So everything is about understanding what is on the back of the food that you are putting in your face. Can't have whipped cream on a diet? Wrong. This is a light, real dairy cream. You could squirt this over an entire dessert, and I guarantee you it's only going to come in at around about a freaking 12 gram serving, which will only have 2 grams of fat in it. A 12 gram serving will look something like that. Maybe that. 2 grams of fat. You're telling me you can't have fun while you're still dieting and achieving your goals? You can. You just need to follow macros. Last but not least, I said we'd come back to it, and we are alcohol. Here's a big topic that a lot of you guys seem to be confused about. Alcohol is its own macronutrient, so it is separated from your other foods and you do need to monitor it, but it doesn't have to be that confusing. Basically what happens is, in the simplest way possible, in a tier of importance, when alcohol's in your system, it goes above everything else. Alcohol to your body is a kind of poison. It's going to try and break it down and clear it from your system, and it's going to prioritize the breakdown and digestion of the alcohol over other foods. So what you want to avoid doing is eating a lot of energy based food, your carbs and fats, around the alcohol. Try and stick to just having lean meat meals, getting your carbs and fats in prior to going out and having a drinking session. Now, by drinking session, that's a different matter of opinion for some people. For some, it's a couple of glasses of wine, a couple of beers. For others, it's a full-on, let's get blottoed. Now, I can tell you, you cannot be going out and getting smashed all the time on alcohol and expect nothing negative to happen. It's going to. But if you want to go out and control your drinks, have 1 or 2 glasses of wine, have some beers or vodka or whatever, that's absolutely fine. My advice to you is, if you can stick to spirits and a mixer, that's going to be way easier because you can have a diet mixer and a spirit, and there is not much to calculate in there other than the fact you've got alcohol in your system. But if you're having cocktails and beers, you are going to have to factor in that they're going to have carbohydrate levels in them, and you need to know that that is the case because it's very easy to start spilling over your calories. And a great way of dealing with this is to bank your macros. Yes, that means you can save macros for later in the day. And if you don't know how much, then you can just pull back on your carbs. If you want to go out and you know you're going to have quite a few drinks, you can just sacrifice 50% of your carbs and save it for that night out. It's completely up to you. You can judge what you think you want to save by having a look at what's in a single drink and going from there. But it's a sacrifice you make in terms of staying in shape. So you know you're going to go out and have fun and have those excessive things. That's great, and you make the sacrifice of not eating as much that day from that certain source that those excessive things are going to pile into, and thus you balance your life, and that's what it's about. Balance is key, consistency is key, but more than anything, knowledge and power. And one final thing, don't worry if you screw up. Just stop, reset, and learn from the mistake. One mistake will not ruin an entire day's work. One mistake during the week, one bad weigh-in doesn't ruin all the work you've done that week. Just like one healthy meal can't make you slim, one bad meal can't make you fat. So don't freak out, just reset. As long as you have more wins than losses, you will keep moving forward. Oh, suggested macro levels. Now, I ain't claiming to be some kind of clairvoyant here, but I'm gonna give you general numbers to be able to start out with. So if you don't want to have to go through your day working out what you're already eating and how far off you are, follow these numbers, they'll give you somewhere to go. But then what you need to do is you need to follow yourself on the scales and in the mirror. What you don't want to be doing is losing more than, say, 1 to 2 pounds a week of weight, excluding the first 2 weeks that you do this, because you'll have a water rebalance in that couple of first weeks. So you can actually end up losing maybe 3 to 4 pounds a week in the first couple of weeks, and that's okay. But if it hits into the 3rd and 4th week and you're still losing that weight, you need to up your food because you're losing too much weight too quickly. Starting with the ladies, let's just say you're an average size girl. We're going to talk about maybe that 5'5" to 5'7" kind of range. You're rocking in around about what? 120 to 140 pounds? Is that little? Is that too little? I don't know.
All right.
Yeah?
Touchy subject.
We'll go off that. Anyway, that's where I'm going. So you just elevate up or down as necessary from that scale. We're going to say around about 130 to 150 grams of protein. That's going to be plenty. Carbohydrate wise, if you start rocking in around about 130 to 150 grams of carbs, if you want a carb dominant diet, and then have 40 to 45 grams of fat. If, however, you want to go a little bit more fat dominant, I would say have around about 100 grams of carbs and tipping it up to about 50 grams of fat. But again, balancing it through those calories however you see fit, according to your allowance, and then go up or down the scale if you think, maybe I'm a bit taller than that, I'm a bit more weighted than that, I'm a bit shorter than that, whatever you want to do. Or just give them a trial run for a week and see where your body goes. If it starts losing weight, brilliant. Next up, the fellas. And again, we're going to go on an average here, but definitely 180 to 200 grams of protein. That's fine. It's definitely going to hit all your base levels. It's probably, for some of you, going to be even a little bit more than you need, but it's also not going to be unhealthy and not going to be putting your kidneys under stress. Carbohydrates, if you want to be a carb dominant kind of diet, I would say for a cutting level, somewhere between 250 grams of carbohydrates should start you off on a decent level. Fats wise, let's start around 60 to 65. If you want to be a little bit more fat dominant, cut those carbs down to around about 170 to 180 and stick those fats up to around about. See how you go from there, and then obviously adjust up or down as necessary. Rules for both guys and girls. If you're going into the gym and starting training to lose weight, do not cut your food and start cardio at the same time, because what you're doing is you're using all the tricks in your bag, and if you load them all in at once at the beginning, you're going to give your body nowhere to go later down the line. So along your journey, If you up your cardio, leave your food the same, give your body a week, you're going to take the average of your 7-day weights. So you're going to weigh yourself every day, but you're not going to give a shit about that single number. You're going to weigh it for 7 days and going to take an average across the board. Then do the same the next week and you're going to measure those averages against each other. If weight's gone down, great. If it stayed the same, let's adjust. If it's gone up, if that's not your goal, then obviously we need to adjust even a little bit harder or increase our activity levels. So that's your choice. You either increase activity or bring down food, not both at the same time. So there we have it. It is as simple as I can make it for now. If you want to know a little bit more, let me know in the comment section below specifics you'd like to know. Has anything confused you? Have I missed any points? I'm doing my best here to just kind of dumb it down a little bit so that you guys are able to feel like you can just jump into this and really give it a good go. But I can promise you this, if you just take the time to understand macros, it will give you ultimate freedom and understanding of food, because it makes you look at what's on the back of a label. It makes you look at what's in your food, which then gives you knowledge, which then gives you freedom, because over time you will just know. You will start to learn about portion sizes from weighing the food. You'll start to know what's in something when you look at it on a menu. It will give you a rough idea, which gives you freedom. Rather than fearing food, you can control the food and you can make that food work for you. And that is a healthy attitude, and that's what you need to be successful, because this is a long-term lifestyle change. It is not an 8 to 12 week program where you're suddenly going to stop and hope that everything's going to stay the same. It just doesn't work like that. So there you have it. That is my basic breakdown for macros and understanding them, and I hope it's helped. Like I said, comments in the comment section if you've got any confusing points in there, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. Guys, if you know the answer to these questions, and a lot of you have been running macros for a long time and successfully, help each other out in the comment section. This is what it's all about, developing a community that we can help each other and come together and be better together. If you liked the video, if you're here this far, thank you very much. I hope it was what you wanted, and if it is, just hit that like, give it a thumbs up and share it. Help share the channel, share the knowledge, and let's start building a better place to be. I've been Lex, that has been Basic Macros, and I'll catch you in the next one. Boom, baby.
Lately I've been doing shit different, cooking like a chef, I've been all up in the kitchen. Had to make a move, had to make a little distance. A lot of people tripping, they could never see the vision. Fuck that, tell them bounce.